Hello and welcome. We will get started in just a moment. All right, good morning. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for joining us. This presentation is being recorded, so I'm happy to present a link to it afterwards. Um, so just a couple of housekeeping notes to start with. You all should have like a control panel on your screen, and in that control panel, you will notice a section for uh, questions and a section for chat. Feel free to post questions at any point, and also post anything related to chat as well. I do have a question to ask, and my question is, um, are any of you currently using HHHub? And then the second question that I have is, have you already been in one of our webinars? And then the third question is, what questions would you like to get answered today related to HHHub? So if you wouldn't mind putting those in the chat section, I would appreciate it. And hopefully everyone can hear me. Let me just double check my audio. Yes, my audio seems to be working. So that is great. Okay, so let's give a little background on HHHub and kind of where it came from. So first, I'm Dan Weiss. I'm president of Datasol, and my company was hired by a couple of NAMI affiliates here locally, where we are in Northeast Ohio, years ago to work on two different versions of a CRM, a contact management system, for each affiliate in different counties here in Northeast Ohio. And then about a year ago, they got together with each other and said, hey, what if we collaborate on making an improvement to this CRM product and hire a data cell to work on that? And we started on that. And then I want to say maybe after a month or two, they had a meeting with all of the Ohio affiliates and started to show off the work and progress we were making. And 6 of the other affiliates were interested in the product at that point. And at that point, we kind of took a little bit of a step back and said, is there a market here for this, this CRM to all of the affiliates nationwide? And we talked with that group, and they said that there was. And so we decided to basically say, hey, if you guys collaborate with us for the next few months to build a product that we think we can sell to other affiliates, we won't charge anything for that to get that done. And then if we end up turning it into a product, you guys can think about buying that product. And so the result of that is 6 months ago, we launched HHHub. And HHHub, if you go to hhhub.info, that's 3 H's, hhhub.info, you can see information on the product and pricing, and you can also sign up for a demo of it. So you can actually sign up for your own 15-day demo where you can try it out and reach out to us with any questions or anything that you might have. So since we launched about 6 months ago, we have been very, very dedicated to getting feedback from people who are trying the product or our existing affiliates, and as we started to sell it, to make improvements. And we've actually released 6 different versions of the product in that 6 months, so about 1 new version a month, with a ton of new bug fixes and features. And some of those I'll go through today in terms of some of the features we've added over the course of the product. So HHHub is at its core a CRM, right? And when you think of CRMs, you may be using one now in your business or in your affiliate. and you may be using, lots of spreadsheets in your affiliate. It just depends. The point of HHHub is hopefully to let an affiliate not have to use a separate CRM or a separate spreadsheet or separate tools necessarily, except where relevant. And I'll certainly explain what I mean by that as we do more of the demo. So when we talk about a CRM, we start with contacts, right? An individual contact is an example. But we realized right from the very beginning that every contact needs to have some additional structure around them. And so a contact can have an affiliation. For example, every contact in HHHub is affiliated with a household record. And a contact can also be affiliated with an organization. So every contact is affiliated with a household. So what do I mean by that? So we're looking at a contact here, and this contact is Chelsea Clinton. And for our demo purposes, just so you know, we're using a lot of presidential names, Republican and Democrat, doesn't matter, or founding fathers, so it doesn't really matter. But in this case, I'm looking at Chelsea Clinton. And you'll notice that we've got a lot of fields here. That's what we call these things, fields of information, and some tabs. So we've got tabs that are contact details and case history, and notes and documents, and enrollment history, and then we've got her household information. So I was talking about households, and so for households, we've actually got Chelsea is part of, she's not part of her parents' household. She's part of the Mizvinsky household. She got married, so she's part of that household. She's a spouse in that household. And she's also, the other two members of that household are Mark, her husband, spouse, and Charlotte, her daughter. And I can move to view the household itself, or I can view individuals. So for example, if I want to click on Mark, I can click this little arrow, and you'll notice at the top it changed to Mark's information. Now the household itself has its own address as a whole, and then each individual can have their address. So currently we didn't give this household an address. I'm going to give one because it'll illustrate a little more why a household is important. So let's say it's going to be 15 East Chestnut in I think they live in Maryland. I have no idea. So let's say Baltimore MD 9 blah 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 whatever. And let's say it's these are actually Ohio counties, but let's say it's Lake County. Okay. So now we added a household for the the Mizvinsky household as a whole. If I click here to move back to Chelsea, that address sticks, right? It's part of the household address as a whole. And if I want to go view the Mizvinsky household, I can click here, and I'm now taken into this Mizvinsky household where I can see all of the members of the household. In addition, some information that we track is tracked at the household level, specifically donations. So while a donation can be given by an individual, it is tracked as a household as a whole. So if I move back to Chelsea's record, click here to go back to Chelsea, and I go back to household donor history, I can see that this one donation was given, and let's say it was given by Chelsea. I can enter a second donation, so that was given on 8/9. Let's say I give a new one, let's say in November 16th. I can enter a individual gift, and it was an individual, and this one was given by Mark. And let's say it was a check number 900, and I'm just going to enter an amount here. And I'm also going to enter an amount up here, 4,000. So far the Mizvinsky household has given $2,500 total, right? So now if I go back to the household, click this button here, go back to the household and go to donations, both of those donations are showing here. So I can see the total, the $2,500 donation that has been given. I did notice, by the way, that for this demo, I had turned on a feature And I'm going to just briefly go into that feature. Normally, that feature is turned off, and that is case management. So in HHHub, we have a sophisticated case management option that lets you track a case that has communication within it. And most of our affiliates, as I understand it, will not need this feature, but it's been very interesting. We've spoken to a number recently that have decided they do want it. So I do want to just mention that we do have that feature where if you need separate case tracking, I'm actually going to turn that feature off and relog into the product so that it's turned off as an option, because it adds an additional level of complexity. So I'm going to close out of this, and then I actually have to log off and back on to turn it off. So I'm going to do that quickly. My apologies for the demo. You're going to lose your screen quickly, and I'm gonna reshare it in just a second. Give me just one moment, please. Okay, so I'm going to reshare my screen. There we go. You should be able to see it again. Okay, so I'm going to go and do a find to go back to Chelsea Clinton's record. And you notice what I did there was I did the pull down menu, and I selected find contact, and that brought up the find screen. And you'll notice that I can find on any field here. So I'm not limited to just finding by name or address. I can find on anything. So I could find, for example, all the volunteers for a given time frame. I can find anyone who's a board member in 2020. I can find anyone who's a program leader for a given time period. I can find on any field. And all of the screens in HHHub work that way. But right now, I'm just going to find the Clintons. And we actually have Bill and Chelsea both in here. I'm going to click into Chelsea. And okay, so let's talk a little bit about this screen. Again, we see Chelsea's household address as a default. We also have this category area. A contact can be a member of one or more categories. And this value list, as every value list, that's what we call this pull down, a value list, is editable by your affiliate's administrator. So you can say, I don't need to have CIT officer in this list, and I don't, I can add other values instead. So Chelsea right now is listed as a peer. I can go back and do a find and say, I want to find everyone who's a peer. Let's look. So you'll notice it took me right to Chelsea's record, and that's because she's currently the only person who's a peer in the system. So let's go do this. Let's go find contact, and I'm going to find anyone with a last name. So that's going to be a lot of records. These are all the records that have last names, pretty much everyone. And I'm going to make Abigail. I'm going to click on Abigail's record, and I'm going to make her appear as well. So now when I go back and do a find contact, and I find for peer, you'll notice instead of taking me back just to Chelsea's record, the system automatically recognizes there's two records. So show me a list of those records, and the two records showed up. So in addition to categories, we also track some demographics like race, and we also track volunteer history, and whether a person's a program leader. We track again if they were on the board. And email marketing, I'll talk about in a little bit. That relates to our integration with Constant Contact and with MailChimp. We also have the ability to store notes and documents and emails for a individual contact. So for example, I can enter a new note for Chelsea. Oh. And I've got a little bug there because of a change that I made. It's not showing the note entry. Let me see if I can show it for households. Yeah, so okay, so here's an example of the notes. So if I go into notes and enter a new note, I can only view it from here, so that's not a good example. So I've got a little bit of a bug. I apologize. We're trying to make a modification to to notes, and it's not showing the right information here. So my apologies for this. But anyways, you can enter basic notes related to anything about Chelsea, whether it's a call that came in, a information about mailing address change, or something like that. Any note related to a contact can be entered here. You can also have the ability to drag and drop a document related to that. So maybe her volunteer form or some other form that you might want to track related to that. We also have the ability to send individual emails. So I can send an email, and of course is that working? Oh, that is working. So we have the ability to send an individual email based on a template. So I can send a template, and this is like a standard HTML template. And so this is very simple, but it's a single email sent to an individual contact. We purposely are not sending multiple emails to multiple contacts or single emails to multiple contacts. That's why we have our Constant Contact or MailChimp integration. So we purposely do not do that. And I will talk a little bit about our integrations a little further on in the demo. But for right now, we only send individual HTML emails to individuals, and those are tracked individually. Okay, so in addition to a household, which we already talked about, that a contact can be a member of, a contact can be a member of an organization. And so if I view organizations, I currently have these organizations in the system. And so let's say, for example, I have the Cleveland Foundation. And with the Cleveland Foundation, we currently have one person who's a member of that organization, and that is Gerald Ford. I'm going to go back to Chelsea's record for a second because I want to show that. And you'll notice that we have 3 tabs here at the top. We have the organization, household address, and other address. So Chelsea is currently a member of an organization. She's linked to an organization, and she's an event coordinator there. And so if I got a spelling off there. There we go. If I click here, I'm going to be taken into that organization, and I can see that both Chelsea and Lila Bush are members of that organization. And so you'll notice that all 3 are, that an organization, a contact doesn't have to be part of an organization, but they can be. So for example, if I go back here and I switch to Mark Mizvinsky's record, you'll notice that there's only 2 tabs here. One is for household and one is for other address, but organization doesn't show up because Mark isn't linked to an organization. If he were, we would see that 3rd tab that shows the organization information automatically, and he would be linked there. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I go into organizations, and let's add Mark into Texas A&M. So I'm going to go find him, M-E-Z, I think that's right. Yep, Mark. And I'm going to link him to this organization. So you'll notice he's listed here, linked. Now he doesn't have a title because when I click back here, what happened? It's added that 3rd tab. And so let's say he is a provost at Texas A&M. So now when I go back to the organization, I see that Chelsea, Lila, and Mark are all within the organization. All right, so we talked about contacts and all the information you can track in contacts. We've talked about how households relate to contacts, and we've talked about organizations and how you can affiliate a contact with an organization and track information related to an organization. The next major feature of HHHub relates to events, and we've tried to group events, how affiliates group events, and that is we have groups as a type of event, we have classes and workshops as a type of event, and we have events as a type of event. So those are all events, but they have different details. What do I mean by that? Well, so a group, an example of a group would be a connection recovery support group. And that has basic details about it, like when it meets and a description and whether it's ongoing. And it has dates that it meets. but it does not have individual registration. We're not tracking individual attendance at all. We might be tracking the number of people have attended, and we might care about tracking demographics so that we can report on that, but we are not tracking individual registration. Classes and workshops, on the other hand, have an individual session. So for example, we have Family to Family for winter 2022, and those have individual dates. So let's say we put in, let's say it started, it's running on, let's say it's running on Wednesday evenings. And it starts on December 1st. Oh, that might be automatic. Let's see. Oh, it is automatic. So I think, yeah, let's try this. So it starts on this, right, there we go. So it starts on December 1st. It's automatically filling in for me. And it's on Wednesdays going through the 22nd. And let's say it's not going to meet on the 29th, but it is going to meet on January 5th, as an example. So it starts automatically 12/1 through 1/5. And you'll notice that it has registration. We do track registration for classes and workshops. And we do allow storage of documents and notes for those as well. Events are very similar to classes and workshops. They can have registrations. So the walkathon fundraiser can have registrations, but an event is only made to happen on one given day. So you can have, for example, documents and notes that are stored on an event, but you don't have, but you don't have multiple sessions for a given event. Okay, so one of the biggest features that we added in HHHub is the ability to have online registrations. So you'll notice I've got this little copy URL here. This URL would go up as a button on your website. So let's say we want to add a registration for this walkathon. And I'm going to register Chelsea Clinton for this walkathon. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch my screen to my browser. Give me one sec. Oops. To a new window on my browser. And so let's imagine. Stop sharing. 1 second. I don't know when we stopped sharing. Hopefully not that long ago. Oh, where am I sharing? Oh no, have I not been sharing for that whole time? Wow, so I don't think I was sharing for a good portion. I think I selected the screen, but then I went off the tab and, oh, I was. Okay, good. Whew. It says stopped. Maybe it just stopped when, there we go. Okay, so, okay. Well, anyways, okay. I want to switch to my browser, so I'm going to do that. 1 second. Okay, I'm switching to here. Okay, and I'm going to paste in that URL. And I'm now taken to register for the walkathon, right? So again, imagine someone was on your website, they click a button that is a link to this URL, and they're taken to the walkathon registration. So without needing to use any other website for registration, you can use HHHub for this. So I'm going to enter my email address. When I do that, what happens is HHHub will look to see, does that email already exist in the system? And if it does, bring up, essentially link to that record and send that person a verification code. So I'm going to go get that verification code from my email. This allows us to not have to worry about having individual passwords for registration, because we're essentially having a second factor of authentication automatically. So I'm going to check my email really quick offline here. Sec. Bunch of new emails came in. There we go. And there's the code that I got, and I'm going to confirm it. And you'll notice that it brought up the record that is linked to my email. It's actually Chelsea Clinton's record. It's not. I don't have a record in HHHub. Chelsea Clinton, I have linked to my email address, which is fine. That's how it was supposed to work. So that's good. And it says my registration isn't complete, so I'm gonna click finish registration. And I will now get an email at my email address that says I've been registered for the walkathon. And also, if I go back to HHHub, and I'm going to switch screens to HHHub. Perfect. And I think I have to go off the screen and back on. Let's see. There we go. Chelsea Clinton is now showing up as a registration. So she's registered, and I can unregister her if I want to. Also, what I can do on Chelsea's record, I can now see that she is registered. I can see all of her registrations going back in time automatically. So that's a really nice feature, and it's all automatic, right? There was no additional duplicate entry. The whole point of HHHub is to not have multiple duplicate entries happening, and everything is in one easy to use as easy as possible system to use. Two other things I want to talk about. The first is reporting. So one of the things we've tried to do is get feedback from our affiliates who are using the product related to what reports they want. And we've started to do reports. I will say that we definitely want to have more reporting, and we want to have more feedback from our affiliates on reporting. But currently we've got the ability to export a found set, to generate mailing labels for a contact, to print donation information, and to print a volunteer report to show a volunteer history for a given date range. In addition, let's see, do we have group reports? Yeah, so in groups, we've got the ability to export group demographics. And in classes, do we have any reports in classes? We don't have any reports in classes yet. What we do have in classes, though, is the ability to print a, I didn't have anyone registered for this class. Let me find one that has someone registered. Let's see, 2021, there we go. So we have the ability to print a graduation certificate. I don't think you can see that. Let me show you what that looks like. Graduation certificate, pretty. And we have the ability to print I know you can't see the screen, there we go. Print an attendance sheet here for the registered people for a given class or workshop. We have the ability to print that. In addition, let's see what else. Oh, integrations. So related to HHHub, I'm sorry, just an overview of reports, what I mentioned. So we are looking for more feedback on what reports people will need. So as we get more users, we will definitely be adding more reports. We understand that that's a critical factor, and we definitely want to get as much feedback as we can on that. The last thing I'll talk about is integrations. So we currently have 3 integrations. One is for PayPal to download. If you have donations in PayPal, we can download those donations and link them to a contact or add a new contact. We have the ability to link with MailChimp or Constant Contact. And the way that works is when you get a new contact, you have the ability to essentially subscribe them or unsubscribe them from a given list. So like, let's say you had a membership list, like active users, you would, if you wanted to add Chelsea Clinton here to that active list, you would be able to view all of your active lists in Constant Contact or MailChimp and hit continue to have the system automatically subscribe them or unsubscribe them from a list. So what does that do? Well, think about it. What that does is it first of all, it lets you see, without having to log into Constant Contact, all of the people who are on a given list. So I want to see all the people who are on my membership list. I can go do a find in here and find all the people on that given list, right? It also gives you the ability to have other staff add or remove people from lists in MailChimp without having to have, or Constant Contact, without having to have login information or having to have some sort of other duplicate data entry process that some person has to manage, who is able to add or remove people from Constant Contact or MailChimp. It's all automatic with HHHub. So I did get a question here. Can you show how to send an email to everyone in the affiliates database from HHHub? So I think that I think I just kind of answered that. We purposely, again, don't provide a feature to send a group email from HHHub. We have the ability to send an individual email, but not a group email. Again, the goal is if you're sending group emails to create a list in MailChimp or Constant Contact, and then send the mail through Constant Contact or MailChimp. I don't anticipate that changing. I think we're going to try to maintain that tight integration with those solutions that are so good at having very nice templates and managing groups of lists. So I think that that's going to stay for now, unless we get lots of feedback that people want. I'm like, as an example, I could see, like, I want to send something to all of the board members for 2021. You might not, that might only be like 8 members, so you might not want to create a list in MailChimp for that. And maybe we might want to do that. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm waiting. I guess I want to get more feedback from users like you to see if we really need to add a feature. We've done it in other systems, so it's certainly something we can do. But I'm leaning towards kind of maintaining the use of an integration with MailChimp or Constant Contact. The very last thing I will talk about is plans for the future. The major feature that we have planned, and this will happen ideally in January, is an integration with NAMI 720. That's NAMI National's new CRM system. And our plan is to allow an affiliate to download all of their registered members, or all of the contacts that they've uploaded to NAMI 720, and then download those as a starting point, and then be able to upload a new contact or update a contact if their address changes in HHHub and you want to change that information in NAMI 720. That is our plan for integration. We send out a weekly calendar to all database emails weekly. So the question is, okay. So Wendy, you're the person asking that question. Again, I think if you want to have a separate conversation about, how we would implement that versus using Constant Contact or MailChimp, and why there's pros and cons of doing that, we can talk about that. I'm happy if you would want to email me about that. I'm happy to have a conversation about that. My email is danw@adatasol, that's our company name, adatasol.com. So it's danw@adatasol.com. And then finally, related to that, if you would consider going to the HHHub website if you haven't already, and I'm just gonna switch to that really quick. Switch back to that. There we go. So on the website, you can find out some additional information about the product. Again, you can sign up for a demo, 15-day free demo, and get pricing. And our pricing is, you have 2 choices. It's monthly. You can pay $20 per user, and that is a concurrent user. So what that means is, if, for example, you have, let's say, 8 people who work in your organization, but at any given time, you're only going to need 2 or 3 people to be connected to HHHub, you're going to pay for those 2 or 3 people, and not the 8 people who might be involved with your organization. In addition, we do have annual pricing, so you can pay annually instead. So you can pay $260 annually per user, or $20 per month per user. And we're happy to talk further about that if you have any questions about that. All right, so please feel free to sign up for a demo at hhhub.info. And otherwise, we appreciate your time and efforts. And thank you for everything you guys do to make NAMIs better. And we hope we can help you as well. Have a great rest of your week.